Hello and welcome back to this series where we're taking an in-depth look at the decarbonisation of Australia and what kinds of investment opportunities this transition is likely to throw up. Now, first thing I want to say before we get into today's conversation is that if you haven't yet registered for our Beyond Oil online conference, you can do so right now for free in the box just beneath this video. All you need to do is type your email address into the box and click continue. Remember, for a limited time, you can get free entry, and we have some genuine world-class speakers and experts lined up to speak for you, to speak to you. Now, if we're putting this show on here in Melbourne, if we weren't in lockdown, we'd probably charge in the region of $500 a ticket. We've done that in previous years in Sydney and in Port Douglas. But if you register now, you can attend for free. All the details, including more information on those speakers, is further down this page. So scroll down at any time, pop your email address in the box and click or tap the button and you can register for a limited time at no charge. Okay, so let's get into today's conversation, and I'm delighted to be joined by Callum Newman of Cycles, Trends and Forecasts and Catalyst Trader. How you doing, Cal?
I'm really well, mate. Really pleased to be with you.
Great, great. So Cal, we've spoken a little bit on this issue, on this topic. As trends go, what's this going to look like? Will it be the biggest of our lifetime?
Well, it's certainly got every chance. I mean, you always got to be careful forecasting forward, but I mean, there is just huge amounts of activity going on here, huge amounts of money involved. And if you just think it's global, like this just sweeps up every single country, every single economy, massive investments happening in China to clean up the environment over there. Obviously, it's becoming much more urgent here in Australia and the US, and Europe's really pushing hard into this. So it's hard to think of anything that's going to be bigger.
You've been saying since the beginning of last year that climate change, for example, isn't going away regardless of the politics. Now it seems like the switch to clean energy is finally has not only some government support in the form of cash, but it also has some industry support too. Would you say that's fair?
Absolutely. And so the interesting thing for me, I mean, this trend has been building for a long time, obviously. I was reading recently in the latest update from the energy regulator that pretty much all the investment since 2012 has been in renewables. But it's only really now that and that's with government support and all those things, but it's really now, there's two things. One is the economics of it are becoming incredibly powerful. And as you say, industry now is getting really on board, and especially the investment industry. There was a notion previously that renewables didn't really work without government subsidies, and there was skepticism. Now, this is where the action is. This is where people are going to start making serious money.
Now, sometimes industry happens pretty fast, and other times it can take many, many years. How quickly is Australia specifically moving into this sort of low carbon era? And what can homeowners and investors expect?
Well, this is really interesting, actually, because, I mean, at a federal government level, Australia is one of the more slow-moving countries. I think the big push is really coming out of Europe and China for this. But in terms of your average Aussies, I mean, solar panels on roofs are absolutely booming. They're booming so much they're destabilizing the grid. So we got a lot of catching up to do. So any company that can tap into that groundswell of support that's coming from is really bright outlook. And why are people doing that? Well, it's becoming, they want to support your environment. That's very important to people, and they're prepared to do it with their money. But it's also, again, it comes back to economics. It is becoming the economic incentives are now extremely powerful.
You've been following the oil sector for quite a while, and how does this play out in that context? Because right now, I had a conversation with James Allen a few days ago, and he was talking about the parity of pricing. So oil's gotten to the point where it's really not that economical to get out of the ground, and renewables has traditionally been the really expensive energy. So how do you see that balance playing out?
Well, yeah, I did. The oil story I was following last year was a different one to the climate issue, but I have followed oil very closely. I think the figure is, I'm fairly sure on this, 60% of oil is transportation. So it's not so much renewable energy in terms of powering your house and all that, but the switch to electric cars, automated driving. That's a massive headwind for oil companies now. And there's a concept in finance called, well, share market, I should say, value traps. And it's highly likely that oil stocks are now becoming massive value traps because even though you might look at them now and go, oh, they're very cheap compared to historical metrics, the problem is their assets are becoming liabilities. So an asset for an oil company is the oil it's got in its ground. But now the investment industry is saying, well, are they ever going to be able to develop those assets? You know, maybe the government steps in and says, no, you won't be able to get it out of the ground. Or again, the share market is always pricing in growth. It's looking forward. The share market has to price in the fact that the market for oil is now declining. So they've got a lot of headwinds. So there's much more exciting areas looking in the clean energy side of things than the oil business. Now, I should say, I'm not a political thing about this. I've got a lot of respect for the oil industry and how they go about getting it. And we still need it today. If I go drive my car, I need to fill it up with petrol. So it's not an attack on the oil industry. But when I look at it from an investment perspective, I just think there's greener fields elsewhere now.
Yeah, that's what the point I've actually been trying to get across. This isn't really about the politics, is whether it should be happening, or what's the right thing to do. The fact is, it is happening, and that is where the world is sort of going. So that's kind of where the future lies, isn't it?
Absolutely. And it's an exciting future, we should say.
Yeah. So what about the costs then, to just come back to that, to generate renewable energy? And they're coming down, right? And are they on par with coal-fired power yet? And what happens when they sort of reach that level?
Well, I think it depends what country you're talking about, but certainly in America, solar already kicks them. Well, I'm going to put it like this: kicks coal out the door. If you look at the chart of the coal index of stocks, it's like 90% down from its highs. They're not economic anymore. Nobody's going to go and put money into the coal industry. The banks don't want to lend to them. Solar, it's not that it's is it getting closer? It already is cheaper than coal. Coal's about to get wiped off the face of the investment business. Again, it comes a little bit back compared to, so for example, here in Australia, we have higher gas costs than say the US. So the figures are different compared where you're looking, but solar is coming to sweep the field.
So would you say fossil fuel stocks are almost a bit redundant at the moment for the foreseeable, or do you think there's more to go really in this transition phase, or what are your thoughts on it?
Yeah, no, I understand. It depends on your time frame. So if you're looking for, like I do with my service at Catalyst Trader, it's possible you'll get a ride out of an oil stock if it's got a drilling campaign or something in the short term that can give it a boost. Or maybe oil has a bit of a spike down the track. We don't know what's going to happen to the price in the short term. But if you're a long-term investor, then again, you're just pushing uphill because there's so many things that can go wrong. Again, declining market share. Their main sector is slowly eroding as transportation. That whole industry is in massive upheaval. And again, their assets are becoming liabilities, and fund managers, I follow the commentary from the funds industry. They're shifting away from these stocks because they're too problematic to hold. People don't want to invest in them. But again, the economics is declining of these stocks. So the returns are declining.
So where do you see the biggest opportunities for Aussie investors going forward then in this sector? I know, for example, you were one of the first guys I know to really latch on to the lithium story back in 2016. Where do you see the some of those similar kinds of plays happening?
Where do you start? It's like you've got lithium, you've got battery metals, nickel, all sorts of things going on mining. Then you go to I'll tell you a little bit about some of the stocks I'm interested in right now, but look at the run that Tesla's had lately. I mean, this is not just here in Australia, but it's worldwide. You've got car manufacturing, buildings, solar panels, all the, installation and everything. I mean, it's going to lower costs across a lot of companies. So even you may not think of a company like, say, a REIT or something like that directly involved, but if they can lower their costs through energy efficiency, beauty, more money.
So what's the one sector within the renewable space that you're looking at right now, or related?
Well, particular of interest to me literally right now is lithium, because as you said, I've been following that for a long time. As we speak, lithium prices are weak. That's just a function of the economic sort of mire that we find ourselves in right now. But the market already appears to be buying up some of the lithium plays that are on the Aussie market. So that suggests to me that people are positioning now for this switch. I mean, we can all see it coming. So now the race is on to lock up the available assets. Because it's been weak for a couple of years, there hasn't been a lot of investment since the big boom in 2015, 2016. So the companies that are positioned on the deposits with a working mine have a very favorable outlook going forward, 3, 4, 5 years. So the race, and European Union Commissioner came out the other day and said, well, guys, we're in Europe. We don't have any lithium. We better do something about it. So he kind of fired the gun. The race is on.
So would you say it's a resources play as well? I mean,
absolutely. I've got nickel, lithium on my watch list, the usual suspects, graphite, that all feed into the batteries. Again, we mentioned in a previous conversation, Cassini Resources was just a nickel developer out in Western Australia, got bought out. Why? Because it's nickel. Nickel, copper. Copper's got a massive outlook. You can't find a copper deposit.
Other people I've been speaking to this week have said the same thing about copper, but you wouldn't actually connect copper to the renewable energy story.
Well, you only have to look up how much copper's in the electric car. It's gigantic amounts. And again, I've followed the resource industry for 10 years. Copper deposits are very hard to find. And again, I was expecting a copper boom a few years ago. It never turned up. Somebody's going to have to invest some money or there won't be copper at any price.
Yeah, right. That's exciting. So what about innovation? Well, I know that let's end on this. You look at the small cap sector very, very, very closely. Is there anything causing a real buzz at the moment that our readers should know about? And what are you looking out for specifically?
Yeah, well, I'll mention 2 stocks. I'm not saying that they're buys, but definitely you want to follow the story. One is an electric motorbike manufacturer called V-Moto. They produce in China. They have multiple tailwinds. But again, this switch from America's like gas-fired motorbikes to electric, they can tap into that. Also, you've got the massive delivery boom, so a separate trend. They're doing very interesting things. But one that's super, super exciting, very early days, is a company called Clearview Technologies. It came out of research in Western Australia, and this entrepreneur sort of picked it up and decided to do something about it. They've developed a smart glass that can convert sunlight into energy. So they're trying to commercialize this by taking it around the world and saying to like building owners and shopping centers, saying, stick this glass on your building and you'll save on your energy costs. Now, again, it's really early days. They don't have a lot of revenue, but when you think of the outlook, there's glass in every single city, every building, greenhouses, all those cannabis guys that are growing marijuana would love this. Anything you can put glass, not grass, they could sort of tap in. So if they can pull it off, the outlook for that stock is really amazing. Again, very early days, but got to be following it.
But I'm guessing this opportunity is just throwing up all sorts of really unique investment opportunities like that. And it's kind of connecting other industries together, isn't it? I mean,
absolutely. As again, I say this feeds in. We talked about mining the special sort of the metals for the batteries. Miners themselves are switching to renewable energy. I think I was reading about a gold mine out in Western Australia. They've got their own little renewable energy plant there to run the mine. That's one of the biggest costs for mining, diesel. So anything that can push down their costs raises their profits. So yeah, you've got to be following everything. You'll see it everywhere.
Yeah, right. Well, it's exciting, and this is why we're putting on this conference now, to explore those opportunities. So, thanks a lot, Cal. I think we're going to leave it there for today. I'm really excited to see how this investment trend develops. You got a little nod to a company you can look into already out of this. So thanks for that. I know you're watching it closely, and I think we both agree that it's going to see some lots of opportunity emerging in this space over the coming months. So listen, thanks again, Cal. It's much appreciated.
Pleasure. Anytime.
And to those at home, now let me just remind you that for a limited time, you can register for our free upcoming online conference, Beyond Oil. As you'll see, if you scroll down, we've lined up some world-class experts to deliver their take on what this clean energy transition is going to mean for the economy and what it could mean for your investments as well. All the details are below. And if you want to join us for free, just pop your email address in the box below this video and click or tap the button. Be clear, this is shaping up to be the biggest mega trend of our lifetime. And our online conference is not just one of the most important investment events of the year, in my view. It's one of the few places in Australia where you are going to be able to hear from world-class experts on clean energy and from industry and the market. So if you want insight that will help you build a portfolio to take advantage of this mega trend, type your email address in the box below, click or tap the button to submit your request, and I will send you a free ticket to our Beyond Oil online conference. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you again very, very soon. Thank you.